her labs are normal, then why is she still not eating or tired or not feeling back to herself? If you're a parent and you've found yourself wondering about a question like this, either to yourself or having this conversation with your child's pediatrician, I would like for you to stay with me because in today's video, I'll answer several questions that are related to either abnormal labs or what to do when the labs are normal, what to do when you fix that thing that you think may be causing your child's problem and the child is still having the same symptoms. Hello, I'm Dr. Lumfundi. I'm a pediatrician and author. Now, before we dive in, I did mention the labs are normal. Why is the kid so fatigued? The labs are normal. Why are we still having the problems? Oftentimes, I get questions like this in clinic all the time because we have situations where we want to fix that one thing and hopefully make everything better. We want to fix that lab. We want to fix that symptom and hopefully everything gets better. But the problem is that usually the symptoms, especially when it comes for kids and everybody, it's just a piece of the puzzle. The lab is a piece of the puzzle. The growth curve is a piece of the puzzle. And it's about looking beyond the lab and looking at the whole child, the whole person, where we're looking at the labs, yes, we're looking at the physical well-being, we're looking at the emotional well-being, we're looking at the environment because in this day and time, environment plays a huge deal. And when I talk about environment is where they're growing and the relationships and even the toxins in the environment that can be contributing to the overall problem. So let's get started with the first question. Can vitamin D deficiency contribute to fatigue, low appetite, and mood change? And the answer to that is yes. We do see a lot of vitamin D deficiency. It's been associated with other conditions like asthma, diabetes, and other chronic conditions. And yes, it can cause fatigue. Now, with a caveat though, because if you have a kid who has fatigue, like I said, it's a piece of the puzzle. Fixing the vitamin D alone may not fix that entire problem, but you have to look at other things that could potentially cause fatigue, like lack of sleep. Are we getting enough sleep? Are we eating the right foods? Are we outside activity-wise? Is the environment, again, a place where they're restful and they can rest and relax and recovery? So besides thinking only about the vitamin D level per se, you want to look at the big picture. And vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin, meaning it's not one of those that can be easily taken out of the body. So I have seen on the flip side where parents have just supplemented with vitamin D throughout the year in, year out without checking those levels. And by the time we see a kid with fatigue and they have a high vitamin D level, right? So you want to be mindful that once you're supplementing or once you're giving vitamin D, you're checking the levels, but also know that if you're doing it with trying to fix a problem without going in to look for the root cause, that fix might actually be causing a problem as well. So yes, vitamin D can cause fatigue, but you have to look at the big picture as well. My 10-year-old has anxiety and complains of nausea before meals. Is this anxiety or a stomach problem? This can be anxiety, but it can also be a stomach problem. It's never one thing, right? Usually, most kids who have anxiety will have other physical symptoms like nausea. Some kids might actually have vomiting, abdominal pain, so many things because the gut and the brain are connected. The gut-brain axis, where once you get into that place of stress, anxiety, you get into the flight or fight mode and digestion slows down. Once digestion slows down, then you can start having abdominal pain, nausea, and some kids will even have vomiting. I've seen kids who have diarrhea as well, where it's related to anxiety. However, though, we usually, before we say it is anxiety, we have to go through again and look through and make sure that it's not a medical cause of it, because reflux can cause nausea. Nausea as well as constipation, which is the number one reason why we see kids with either nausea, vomiting, and or abdominal pain. Or it could be a food intolerance. They may have that every time they eat a food, and they feel bloated and nauseated and stuff. That could cause it too. Or inflammatory bowel disease or other GI problems that could cause the symptoms. So before we even think about anxiety, we have to go through again, look at the big picture, look at everything that's going on, to make sure there's no severe medical condition going on before we say, okay, yes, this is probably anxiety. And then we start making sure that we're addressing the cause of the anxiety. Did the kid vomit in the past with something, with food, and now they're really anxious every time they eat a food or take 2 bites, and because of the anxiety, they can't finish it? Because that's one of the things that I see, where they take 2 bites and they can't eat anymore. It could be an abdominal problem. And yes, it could be anxiety as well. It could be both, and it could be a medical condition. So it goes beyond the foods that you're eating. If you're eating the healthy foods, but you're stressed out, your body cannot digest it well. So ultimately, safety in itself is even way better than whatever you're eating, because there's no use eating the right things and your body is not digesting it. The third question I have is, can prolonged picky eating affect learning, attention, or school performance even when the weight looks normal? Absolutely. Prolonged picky eating can over time lead to microdeficiencies that can lead to learning, inattention, and just other issues, right? Because in the first 2 years of life, actually first 5 years, the brain grows rapidly. And once you're nourishing your kid, the kid needs the nutrients, right? And you need the proteins as building blocks. You need omega-3 that helps with mood regulation and all of this. So it needs all those micronutrients that are important for the building blocks for brain development. So if you have a kid who is picky eating over time, even though they're eating some foods to gain weight, they could also be missing some micronutrients that could interfere with their learning, their emotional regulation, and their mood ultimately. So that's why once we're looking at a child, yes, they have a picky eater. Okay, they're growing well according to their growth curve. However, if we have a kid who's inattentive, irritable, and having all of those other symptoms, then we have to start paying attention to what foods are they eating and figuring out how can we ensure that we're adding the key nutrients that is required for brain development to whatever they're eating. And I did go over this at my last workshop. Usually when we start looking at it, most kids are deficient in omega-3 because most of those fatty fish, most of the omega-3 are gotten either from fatty fish, and most kids are not eating that, right? Omega-3 is a big one. Zinc deficiency is a big one that's good too. And there are other key nutrients that may be deficient. And even recently, they're doing a lot of research with omega-3 and ADHD and autism and stuff to help with that mood regulation or help supplement for just to help with that too. So yes, even if your child is growing well, they may be missing key micronutrients that are essential for learning. And if you have a picky eater, finding ways to have those bridge foods to make sure that they're getting the key nutrients. Or this may be a case where you may have to supplement with a multivitamin while you're working towards getting your kid to eating better. So even though the growth chart may be looking okay, they may still be missing some key nutrients. And the fourth question is, my daughter's iron improved with supplements, but her appetite and fatigue never improved. At what point should parents look beyond nutrition? Improving the iron itself, it's good, right? Because your child's pediatrician, we as pediatricians, we do check for iron deficiency at least twice, until before they turn 2. A 9-month well visit, and sometimes at the 2-year well visit, we'll check for iron too. And if it is low, we'll make sure that we're supplementing with them. But sometimes, even if your iron level is normal, you could still have fatigue, because again, that's just one piece of the puzzle. You may be low in vitamin D. It may be the child is not getting enough sleep. We've seen a lot of kids who are restless and snoring at night, and it may be sleep apnea, and fixing the sleep apnea may be the problem. So iron deficiency is one, but there may be 2 or 3 other things going on. So you want to look at the whole child, where fixing the iron alone may not fix the entire problem, but we want to step back, look at the whole child, and make sure that we're not treating the labs only, but we're paying attention to the whole child and seeing what else could be affecting their energy level besides the iron. And final question of the day is, my child's growth percentile dropped from 80th to 35th percentile over a year, but they're still technically in normal range. Should I worry? So the growth percentile went from 85th to 35th, still within the normal range. Should I worry? The answer is yes. We always look at ranges. So usually I'll say, pick your curve and grow right along it. If you are at 35, which is your normal, and you're right around 35 percentile, that's you and that's how you're growing. That's okay. But someone who drops rapidly, it's like it requires you to kind of pay attention. It's like anyone who's driving 75 in a neighborhood of 35, that brings your attention, everybody will look at it like, what are you doing in the neighborhood? Because that is dangerous, right? Same thing. We want you to have a good rate within a range, but you're uniquely the range that is yours uniquely, right? If you're at 85th percentile, you're going around, that's your normal, and that's fine. If you're a 5th percentile and that's your percentile, that's fine. But once you start crossing percentiles, that's when we start looking at it and say, what else may be going on? Why are we not gaining weight, or why are we losing weight? Because there's so many different things that can cause it. So if they're dropping fast, and especially if it's not intentional, it is something to kind of pay attention to say, why are we dropping percentiles without even trying, right? So it's something that you want to talk to your child's doctor to kind of look again at all the big picture. Is it a child who is doing the same things that they've always done, and has been very busy and gotten engaged in physical activity, and they're doing things that you know is going to cause weight? That's something to really talk to your child's doctor about, and just make sure that they're okay. So that's it for today. I'm hoping that from this you got that we're looking at the whole child, but not only a lab, not a diagnosis, but in order to really help raise healthy, thriving kids, we have to make sure we're looking at the entire puzzle, not each piece separately, because each piece separately does not make any sense, does not take you anywhere. But once you start putting it all together, and then you can figure out what those symptoms are telling us, and then we can make the right decisions for our kids. I hope you found this helpful. As always, I'm Dr. Long. Thank you for listening. And I do talk a lot about this in my monthly workshops. If you are available on the last Saturdays, usually of every month, I would love for you to join me at a workshop where we'll kind of break through most of these questions that I answer. Or if you have a kid who just worries and has those big emotions, I wrote a book, The Worry Garden. It is available on Amazon. I will drop the link in the comment box after this. As always, thank you for listening. I'm Dr. Loom. Bye.